Yeah, I was there for a night a couple of weeks ago, yeah.
Yeah.
My girlfriend was DJing.
You just came in for the night?
Just came up for the night, yeah, in and out.
How was that?
Lovely. Well, we've always been big fans of his, like, ever since we started playing guitars, really, I think. And we were fortunate to meet him at festivals a couple of years ago, and we did a show together in Houston, and kind of, I suppose that's where like the relationship began. And then I think around that time we thought about asking him to go in the studio, perhaps, but. And then we sort of like forgot about it a little bit, and then the idea was remembered to us by Lawrence Bell, our label. Yeah, he was he was aware of us. Like, I think he said some kind things in the press. I think we did summon it there, but that's actually this guy Dave Catching's studio.
Okay.
The place in the desert, and Josh has a place in Los Angeles, so we kind of did the most of the record between those two. Yeah, certainly. I think it did. I think that whole experience with Josh was really did. Like, I think in order to do that in the first place, we had to approach it a little bit more openly than perhaps we had to those situations before. We were always like reluctant to let people in, like to our little group in the sort of early days, and as time's gone on, obviously, like naturally, you perhaps, you are more willing to like let. Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Like, obviously, he produced all his records before, and he's been in studios like a lot more than we have. But we weren't so sure whether he'd produced a band that he wasn't a member of, you know what I mean? So it was going to be like a different, it's kind of different process for everybody. I think almost because, like you just said, I think the band is kind of really considered a British band, I think, because of that first album and
right.
The way my voice sounds, or like the accent it comes through. And so I think doing this, recording it in America and working with Josh and everything, it doesn't deviate, it doesn't take it away that much. I think that's why we did it so quickly, was because we really did like rush into that second album, and like obviously we just got Nick in the band at that point, and we all really wanted to make an album together, and it's like, there was a definite desire to like shed a skin at that point and like try and move on. You could just like, and as a result of that, you did spend a lot longer on this album, and like there wasn't that kind of feeling of, we'd try things and we'd have like a few weeks writing more songs and we'd record them, whereas there wasn't like this urgency, like, I suppose. This is the first time there's a sense of like satisfaction having completed this album that I don't think we've achieved before. I think it's just like you'd always kind of quickly have niggles about the other records, whereas with this one, I don't know, it just feels, you just feel more satisfied with it. I suppose it's like, maybe it's because you've been playing a little bit longer and you've heard more records, and so it's you can, I suppose, like master your ideas a bit more, like making breakfasts now as opposed to playing pinball. But I don't know, but we've always done what we wanted to do, and the label's been very very good with us in that kind of department. But yeah, I don't know, more just like I'm happy with the tunes on this record. I just think like the songs are better and the sounds are better. To be honest, it still feels like the same really as it always has, like in terms of me writing. I probably do it like more now than I used to do. Like I probably write more like frequently, and I think that's just. In the beginning, I was always a bit uncomfortable with the idea of like being like a songwriter. I don't know, that like term used to give me a little shudder. Like I felt like I'd be the. I don't know. It reminds me of like the idea of being a songwriter used to be like freaking out, like, because I don't know, it reminded me of like the kid in sixth form or whatever that had a rock bag. Exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean. Because but then like as time, as time goes on, you realise it can be. It's all right, you know. Yeah, I think in terms of like that, I feel like that first album, kind of, for me anyway, like encapsulates all that stuff from that world that, you know, like, and it was tied up neatly, and like I feel like that was done then almost, you know, and then it was just after that it's just no, I mean, just like there was other things to write about. I think I remember when it like kind of discovered, when I started kind of writing in that style, I suppose, or about what was going on like in our lives at that time. And I remember a time, you know, when I had like 2 or 3 songs in that vein, and it was like, well, if we made this another, if it was 5 or 6 or 7 songs, then that's, you know, you're almost got an album, and that could completely, you know, that's just, you could put a fork in that sort of thing. Because by no means did that I or we didn't invent that kind of approach, you know. Right, people were doing that even at the same time as we were. I think we probably had like joke tunes that were like, yeah, I don't know, I can't really remember, to be honest. Yeah, it was just like, I think it's always been about like what the next thing would be for us, like next record or whatever. Yeah, I don't know, I think it's always, I don't know what the alternative would have been, like, yeah, self-destruction. Well, we were just we had made demos like pretty after about like a year of playing together. We'd like made demos, and we'd, you know, Matt, our drummer, would, you know, do a little artwork for it, and we'd give them away when we were playing around. And then there was a gentleman that stepped up and was kind enough to drive us out of town to play shows, like, and you know, and he got us to do another demo and stuff like that. And we'd always give the disc away or whatever at the show. And then some kids got hold of it and kind of put it on a website or a bit of MySpace or something, I think, as well. But it was really, to us, we were like just going around playing, and all it meant was the next time we went up to Newcastle or whatever, there'd be like a couple more people there than there was the last time, and they'd know some of these tunes that we were playing. Yeah, yeah. I've never had a MySpace. You guys on MySpace? No, I don't have one. No. I tried to download Richard Hawley's new album the other day because there weren't a record shop around wherever we were in Denver or something, and it got 3 songs in, and then it cut me off. I think I need a Genius bar to sort me out. I think you just have to, because even in like when the only thing you can kind of completely be in control of is like what's on the record, you know what I mean, and what you're gonna play in your set. And I don't know what shoes you've got on, but I mean, like, it's not how long your hair is, no. but like even like being interviewed for a magazine or whatever can always get like
misconstrued,
and like, yeah, you know, you kind of misquoted and whatever. But I mean, I think there's no point like worrying about it really. It's more just like, well, concentrate on the thing you can control. And you do hear misinterpretations and stuff. Well, what was saying?
The greatest misconception.
I don't know. There's a cracker about that tune, My Propeller, on the new album.
Yeah.
like that there's some sort of that it's some kind of describing a mood. I assure you, not an organ. I was like, wow, really? And I was like looking at the lyrics, thinking, what? Yeah, I don't know, but it's quite funny, I suppose. But yeah, I wouldn't be so. I always say this, but we've always enjoyed coming and playing, and like the size of the places that we play over here is like adequate.
Feels good.
Yeah. I've not got to that yet. Which one's which? No, it was only like a couple of weeks ago. We always have like dozens of titles, like when we've been, but they're normally sort of pretty ridiculous for the most of them. Like, I mean,
Lesbian Wednesday.
I really remember wanting to call his last record "No Artificial Flavour." Some cracking alternatives. Yeah. If you the Thesaurus Humbug,
yeah,
is I'd say probably the best results. Taradiddle.
These are all words.
Dupery is definitely a favourite though. Yeah. We wanted to call it, maybe we could call it dupery for a minute, but then we didn't get the sort of ambiguity that you get with Humbug, because of course there's the stripy peppermint sweet, and we were saying perhaps our first two records are more like jelly babies, or to put it maybe into your maybe like a Sour Patch.
Gotcha, yeah.
Which I've become a fan of recently. Yeah, those and the Swedish Fish. Probably just in favour of Swedish Fish. Yeah, perhaps our first two records are a little less hard-boiled. I think we knew that we wanted to take a bit more time and consider it all a bit more this time. And I think we were more sort of confident in the identity of the band would remain intact even if you did go and work with Josh. When we got there, it really did feel special and like nothing we'd ever experienced before. Now it feels like we're getting somewhere. I feel like it's probably more personal, if anything, this one, perhaps because it's sort of shrouded in a bit more mystery, and for that reason feels like you can get away with putting your feelings in. I think, yeah, all that the stuff you sort of just mentioned kind of came like back out a little bit, like from when you first sort of picked your guitar up. I feel like you'd automatically kind of gravitate towards, but I feel like with this, in the sort of approach to this album, you kind of got those records back out and got into them in a different way, I suppose. Like, perhaps just now being a little bit better at playing, you kind of just appreciated it kind of in a slightly more. This fella, he's called Jake Thackeray, and he's a Yorkshireman, and is a very humorous, lyrical style, yeah, and like but terrific songs, but like, yeah, the words are in school I always thought like our thing was the Roots Maneuver record, Run Come Save Me. I always felt like that was like our thing in school. I loved his like lyrics from that.